In all the previous modules, we have understood how the atomic model has been evolved. So we started from the plum pudding model, but which was later proven to be wrong by Mr. Rutherford in his famous gold foil experiment. And then Rutherford presented his planetary model, which was then modified by Niels Bohr, and it was later then known as Bohr's model, Bohr's atomic model, and that is the atomic model that we'll be sticking with, right? So now we have a basic idea of how the atom looks, the basic idea about what all an atom is made up of, and how those components are arranged. So we know that an atom is made up of electrons, protons and neutrons, right? And we also know that the protons and neutrons are located in the nucleus of an atom, whereas the electrons orbit the nucleus of the atom. Now in the beginning of all of this, I had told you that everything in this universe is made up of these 118 types of particles called elements. So this simply means that we have 118 different types of atoms present, right? Every atom in the whole universe is one of these 118 types or 118 elements. But we just saw right now that an atom is made up of only 3 types of basic particles. So how can these 3 types of basic particles create as many as 118 elements? So let us look at that part in this video. So let us just look at the most basic atom present in the whole universe, which is, let us just take a single proton and keep it as a nucleus. And yeah, so one slight correction, I had told you that generally the number of neutrons and protons is equal in atoms, but it is not a very hard and fast rule. It's not compulsory that only half the number of it is not compulsory that half of the particles inside the nucleus will be protons and half will be neutrons. It can happen that there's only a single proton and there's no neutron, right? That is also possible in some cases, but my intention to say that was simply that generally the number of protons and neutrons is almost around equal. So if there might be some cases where there are 13 protons and maybe 12 neutrons, that might happen, and we look at that in the next video also in a bit more detail. So let us just take this proton here that is at the center, which is the nucleus. So the nucleus is only composed of a proton, a single proton. We have no neutrons here, and to balance off this charge, I'll just put an electron here. This is a small electron, and this electron is revolving around this nucleus, which is just a proton. I'll just center it here. The electron is revolving around this nucleus, which is just a proton, in this circular orbit. And this is one of the orbits as suggested by Mr. Niels Bohr, which is stable, right? So this is the first orbit, let's say the smallest orbit, let's say for now. So this is the most basic atom, which is hydrogen. So this atom here is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most basic element, and this is one atom of the element hydrogen, right? Now how do I get another element from this? Well, if I take another proton and add, let's say, one proton here, and let me add 2 neutrons also. So I'll just make the neutrons as empty circles. So let's just add 2 neutrons here, and we have 2 protons. Now to cancel the charge, I'll have to add another electron. Let's say I'll just put an electron here. Let's say I have another electron in the same orbit. I can have more than one electrons in a given orbit, right? So let's say I have 2 electrons in this particular orbit. So now even this atom is electrically neutral, which means there is no net charge on this atom, because I have 2 positive charges and 2 negative charges. So the net charge is 0, and I have 2 protons, 2 neutrons. So this is the general case where both of them are equal in number, neutrons and protons, right? This is the next atom, or the next type of atom, or the next element, so to speak, and this is called helium. So the previous one was hydrogen, this is helium, and I can keep on adding protons and neutrons, and I can keep on getting different types of atoms or different elements. Now what makes one element different from another? Is it the number of neutrons, is it the number of protons, or is it the number of electrons? Well, it turns out that it is the number of protons that matters. So if any atom has only one proton, don't ignore the number of neutrons for now. There may be neutrons, there might not be neutrons, and there may be electrons, one electron, or there may be no electrons, but anything that has only one proton will always be called a hydrogen atom. Similarly, any atom that has two protons will always be called a helium atom. So even if there are two neutrons along with the two protons, even then it is called a helium atom. And even if I remove one of the neutrons, even now this will be a helium atom because we have two protons. And similarly, for 3 protons you have a different name, it is a different element. For 4 protons it is a different element, you have a different name, and this is a whole table in your book, you can just look at that. But the basic point is that it is the number of protons that determines what element it is. And even if I remove this electron from here, even now this will be helium because it has 2 protons. I can remove all the electrons, it can have no electrons, so I'll just remove all the electrons, and even if I have the nucleus remaining behind, even this will be called a helium atom because it has 2 protons, right? So that is the basic idea, and so on and so forth. We can have different elements up to, so there is, if you feel curious about it, there are elements that have up to 118 protons. How do I know that? Well, because there have to be 118 types of atoms, right? So I have to keep on adding a proton to get the next element. And similarly, because I have 118 types of atoms or 118 elements, therefore the 118th element will obviously have 118 protons and around almost an equal number of protons, neutrons also. So yeah, that is the basic idea here. And just for your knowledge, the number of protons in a given atom is called its atomic number. So atomic number, and you have the element's name also. So just to imagine it, we can imagine the atomic number as the roll number of the element, so to speak, and the element name is the name of the element. So for example, if I take the example of a given class, all of you inside in class 9 have different names, right? Everyone has a different name, just like elements have different names. Some element is called hydrogen, someone is called helium, someone is called iron, someone is called oxygen. Everybody has a different name, right? And every element also has a different atomic number. That atomic number is unique for every element. For example, hydrogen has 1, and that atomic number represents the number of protons in that given element. So for example, hydrogen, the element name is hydrogen, its atomic number is 1, which indicates that that particular element's atoms will have 1 proton, right? So yeah, that is the basic idea behind what makes one element different from another, and the basic idea of atomic number. And yeah, that's it for this video.